I would have worn pants.
I don't think anybody wants you to wear pants.
Mm.
Right. Well, let's get started. Welcome to the Bladtcast. Those watching on YouTube, you see who our esteemed guest is. Those that are just listening to the audio, you're going to have to wait for a man who deserves some introduction, but we'll get none. The one and only David Weiss on Twitter at DWeissComedy.
What's up, America?
And I understand this will be a great element for our YouTube audience. I believe you're enjoying a warm beverage in a Mets mug.
I am America.
So let's see that. There's Mr. Met. And then, look, I've got an Ewok, and it says, I endure you. Like Endor. I endure you. Anyway, so there's nothing better than breakfast with Salman, which is what this really is, because it's just before 10 a.m. here on the best coast. So everybody wants to know. America wants to know. Europe wants to know. Especially Asia wants to know, because they haven't seen you for those massages in a while. How is David Salman Weiss making it through quarantine? Lockdown, as it were.
I just got a message that says my internet connection is unstable, so I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was in a relationship for a long time before my wife. I was getting updates like that all the time, actually.
Ouch.
So, the world wants to know how you are navigating these quarantine lockdown times, sir.
I'm navigating them quite well. I have a full stock of everything I need.
Toilet paper. KY jelly.
KY jelly, toilet paper, fresh D batteries.
Yeah, everything that you could possibly need. Now, here in Los Angeles, starting on Friday, if you go to the grocery store or the pharmacy, you're going to need a face mask. Now, do you have a face mask?
Yes, I do. It's made out of leather.
Oh, well, see, that's going to be perfect then.
I can't go. You didn't see that? I posted it on Twitter.
Well, I never know, because you always send me the best jokes, and then most of them you're afraid to actually post.
No, this was just a GIF.
Oh, okay.
GIF, whatever it is. Is it GIF or GIF?
That's up for debate amongst people that have nothing of consequence to debate.
Dominicus Saxon liked it. Apparently I ruined some sort of comestible for him.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that Dominicus Saxon is probably fart too, but part of the Salman army. Now, there was you were scheduled to come on the Bladtcast a couple weeks ago. We were going to do our MLB 2020 preview. We could do that now, but it'll take about half a second, I think.
Okay, here we go.
Nothing.
There it is. Thank you. 2020, everybody.
That's 2020. We'll see you in 2021, everybody.
2021. Let's go Mets.
Our pal Dennis Miller has talked about, like, you feel like the Houston Astros are a little mixed on this. They don't want there to be a global pandemic, but they're like, oh, this is kind of a good time for us to not be going into stadiums and getting hit by pitch and booed every time we take a swing.
Baseball fans never forget.
That's true.
Never forget.
I agree. So you also were going to take a trip to Vegas, and I'm wondering, did you still go even though the casinos were closed?
You didn't see me running without my shirt down the strip. I'm the only one who could go to Vegas when it's closed and still lose my shirt. Get it?
I do, actually.
Oh, I got a bell. All right.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
Right.
So, I was mentioning I get a lot of jokes texted by you, and a lot of times I'm like, oh, that one's good, and usually it's like, oh, that one's funny, but you can't post it. So, yes. I feel like I'm your outlet for that. It's like I'm the Twitter that perhaps President Trump should have. When he wants to tweet something, he should just text it to like one person, and then
Right.
And I actually remember, I think it was Whitney Cummings. Somebody said that when they were doing the Roseanne reboot a couple years ago, they wanted to like install an app on her phone that was like fake Twitter, so she would think she was posting to Twitter because they all knew that they were going to lose their jobs over her Twitter.
And they did. Wow.
And they did, yeah. So she was just like, oh yeah, we definitely should have actually done that. So, all right. So there's no baseball, which is a huge disappointment for me. I'm in a couple of fantasy baseball leagues. One of them, one of them really wanted to still draft like the end of March. And as it like got a little bit closer, we talked everybody out of it, because it's like they might not play at all. If they do play, somebody's gonna get hurt. And of course, in true Mets fashion, the team's not playing, but Noah Syndergaard, their best pitcher, managed to get hurt. Not
only
playing. Only the Mets can end up on the DL when there's no actual games being played. In any case, so I don't know. I mean, I wonder, can I read some of these jokes? Are you afraid of them? Your own jokes. Do you have to look back through and figure out which ones?
Yeah, I'd have to.
All right.
Wait.
That's fine. We can talk while you do that. So, how often are you going outside for a nice stroll in your leather mask? How often do you go out? Do you have whole days where you don't go out?
Yes.
Because even with the two kids, we have days that we don't go out. Kids. I was gonna say us. Even with the two kids, we have days that we don't go out. It's just it's just a little easier.
I got
here's one. Okay, great.
You can read the Kennedy joke. Wow. Would you like that one?
The body of Maeve Kennedy Townsend McKeon has been recovered, and somehow the ghost of young Ted Kennedy was seen furiously dog paddling away from the scene. I think that's a good one. I think that's that's not a Tonight Show in 2020. But what about the woman who chipped her tooth?
No, I can't do that.
Okay.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I won't be able to go out at all ever.
That's true. There's some good ones though. We talked a lot about Queen Elizabeth. She gave that address to the British people.
I really liked her gesture of solidarity. Looked like she hadn't shaved in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and to which I said that I actually believe she waxes, and then you said Her Majesty is also the nickname for her bush. So
right, it's big.
Yeah,
it's magisterial.
Is it Passover today? Is that a multi-day affair? Is it like
Passover starts at sundown tonight?
Okay.
There is one virtual seder tonight and one virtual seder tomorrow. I have nothing to do because I'm here alone in the Sal Cave.
So, are you participating in a virtual seder, or you're just gonna have?
I'm just going to drink this lamb's blood myself.
See, I was going to ask if you were going to have a bacon McRib, but with the side of lamb's blood.
With the side of lamb's blood, yes.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it's this is one of those weeks where you have Passover and Easter ending up around the same time, and you hear throughout the country, you hear some very vocal, Christian, pastors and things. You hear congregants for churches who are very upset. I don't hear any of the Jews who are upset about synagogues being closed.
Well, Passover is not a big synagogue holiday.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Right. You don't really go to synagogue. You have the Seder. But then again, you're not upset because who wants to have dinner with 12 crazy Jews?
That's what I was looking for.
There you go. There's the point.
There you go. There, look. And here's the thing. I can even show it for people on YouTube. They can actually see the bell. the bell from Matt and KC, that is the Bladtcast 100 bell. That was what it was a gift for.
Nice.
We're well over 370 now. So, that's
370 shows.
Yeah, 370 Bladtcasts. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's some people would have gotten a hobby by now, but not me. So wait a minute. How often are you going outside? Are you?
No, I'm not.
Just at all.
I don't even go on the terrace.
Right.
I haven't checked the mail in 2 days.
That's all right. It's well, I mean, you have somebody who handles your fan mail, so you don't actually need to do it yourself.
That's true. There are some elves in Punxsutawney, Philadelphia, Punxsutawney, PA,
yeah,
that handle my fan mail.
So how often are you getting groceries delivered, or do you have to go in every?
I got to go to Trader Joe's today.
Oh boy,
I'm out of lamb's blood.
Well, I know.
Did I already do a lamb's blood joke?
You did do a lamb's blood, but
it's Holy Week. You got to hammer. You got to hammer down on the double down on you need a lot of lamb's blood to make matzah.
Yeah. I believe that's what I've heard, that you need a lot of that. So there's no there's no restaurant delivery, no curbside pickup for you, or
there is. I've been alternating between Indian and Chinese and pizza.
Okay.
But try and work it out so that I have leftovers so I can cover 2 days with one delivery.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think that we always want to be.
That's just the kind of excitement that being single in your 50s is all about. So hey.
Yeah. So does that mean that J-Date has dried up a little bit? Which, let's be honest, it was pretty dry down there to begin with.
I'll let you have that one. That was for you.
Thank you. That was.
I would say it's pretty dry at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So there, can you tell the Bladtcast Nation our one of our favorite interactions that you told me about, someone that was clearly not a real person on J-Date?
Oh, I could, but it's not, there's no punchline.
It's all right. Just tell people how you knew that it was spam. Give us that, Colonel.
Okay. So I started texting with this woman she looked very attractive, and in some of her instant messages, she how you would say, dear or whatever, as a greeting, and hers all started with, hi, handsome. So I knew it was a scam. I'm a lot of things. What?
Delightful. Charming,
would not be one of them.
Sharp dresser, handsome,
right.
But that was
as Larry David says, bald fuck.
He does say that. That's true. I was just reading that Larry David is probably relieved that he's not gonna have to keep flying to New York a couple times a month for SNL because Bernie Sanders is no longer running for president.
That's true.
Yeah. So now, he can just, I don't know. I can't even imagine what he's doing.
Having heart attacks at home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's divorced, so there's probably less heart attacks than there would have been, right?
Oh, Larry or Bernie? Larry's divorced. Not
Larry.
Bernie.
Yeah. I'm talking about Larry. Yeah. No, yeah. Bernie. No. Bernie met the love of his life, and it's a touchy subject. You can't really joke around about Bernie Sanders to some people. I made an offhanded comment about how he and his wife honeymooned in the Soviet Union, and the response was, "No, he went for work." I'm like, "All right, great, but
that's a decent joke. I mean,
it was all right, I mean, come on.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, but
people gotta ease up.
I mean, especially now, I think that I think that we should put a quarantine on people getting canceled and woke culture. I thought it was very smart of Louis C.K. to put out a special right now. Somebody had the tweet before I even formulated it in my head. that it's it's just like Louis C.K. to put out a new special when I forget now what it was. I fucked it up, but it's like to put out a new special when no one can get away. Basically.
He's really got his finger on the pulse of the comedy community.
Yeah, but it's like it's on his website. You spend $8 for it. It's like there's no middleman. He was the first one. Yeah, I know. Well, he was the first one to do it like 10 years ago for $5, so he feels like that's inflation.
I thought that Dane Cook was doing that.
Dean Cook did it at some point, but I don't know. I'd love to see the numbers on that, and then it's like, can he do a breakdown of people who bought it but then pretended they didn't buy it, or people who bought it just so that they could post on social media how terrible it was, but probably laughed at it. They're probably laughing. You're right, exactly.
I bet you Sarah Silverman bought it to jerk off to it.
Probably, Maybe she got a comp. Do you think? No, she didn't.
Yeah, she probably got 20% off, or she got a BOGO.
BOGO. So if you're spending all this time inside, yes. What are you watching? What are you doing to pass the time?
Well, watching a lot of the news. Like to keep up on the deaths one by one, so that I can give each corpse the individual mourning that it deserves.
Yeah.
Since these people this is a bad road to go down.
Well, look, every time you have to play that Sarah McLachlan "I Will Remember You" song, so you've had to play it like 3,000.
No, it's terrible. These people are dying alone. So if I can have them, just give them a taste of the Sal magic before they go down the river Styx, I think that's appropriate. What else have I been doing? Reading.
Yeah, what are you reading?
I'm reading, let's see, wait, I've got...
I just wish for the gag you had
Vanity Fair with Reese Witherspoon. You know what I love in Vanity Fair is these, when they got the... Wait. Oh, like here's like Chanel.
Sure.
The perfume thing.
Yeah, of course.
You take this and you just rub it all over like that. So that way, you can make believe when you're jerking off that there's a woman there.
Yeah. I think that was a joke my brother maybe had, that somebody was so cheap that when he puts on cologne he gets a paper cut. I feel like when we were
I like that joke.
That's solid, I mean, it's my brother's a silent assassin. I don't mean in terms of comedy. I mean he's murdered a lot of people. So by the way, my brother lives at the corner of Bleecker and Broadway. And I'm just trying to think of a neighborhood I'd rather not be in right now.
Is he sheltering in place, or is he?
Yeah, he and his wife don't go out much anyway. So this is
okay.
This is just March and April for them. This is par for the course, really. So, but yeah, I mean, he was getting groceries delivered before it was cool. It's because of my brother that I realized like years ago that McDonald's delivered in Manhattan. This is like 20 years ago. They had a number. It was I remember the number. It was 212-337 fast. So you get your McDonald's fast.
How many McNuggets in a sack?
Oh well, not nearly enough. So let's see. So yeah, I in terms of the news, I find it mostly horrifying, and I've talked a lot on the Bladtcast about like I can't watch it at night if I want to have like a decent sleep. And then the problem will be like some of the podcasts that I do, I have to do like prep work the night before. And I'm just like, oh, I really wish I had done this in the afternoon, because there's always like, cheerful headlines like grocery workers are starting to die, because of the virus.
Death rate leveling off by 0.01%.
Yeah. And then it's just like stuff about how fragile the not the ecosystem, but how fragile the whole thing is in terms of like how much we rely on truck drivers. So it's like if they get sick, we're fucked. Basically, I'm like, these are great headlines to read in the in the middle of the night. So do you watch anything for fun though? I mean,
sure. I did the whole Star Trek Picard thing.
We can talk about that in a moment, but what else?
I'm trying to think. I've got a list of things I want to watch. How about that? I haven't watched Tiger King yet. I'm a little gushy on animal abuse.
Yeah, so. I've seen one of them, and I kind of get it, but I've probably had most of the series like spoiled for me, and a lot of it seems like there's, I'm like, all right, I can see how this is worth watching.
Somebody, was it you who said there's a lot of padding, or somebody else?
Oh, padding? No, I thought that the HBO McDonald's Monopoly documentary, which was like 6 parts, I'm like, this would have been a great 2-hour documentary, but it's like they really stretched that one out. So I might have been talking about that one.
I thought Tiger King was 7 episodes, right? 7 hours?
It's 7 hours, and I believe that they've gotten enough found footage together that they're going to do an 8th episode from stuff that they didn't use yet. So because obviously in different times, maybe that show wouldn't have been so big. But what are you actually actively looking to watch?
Star Trek Picard.
Watch it. No, you can't. You had to cancel your subscription by now, right?
Did you say you kind of got you got mushy again? Did you say, what am I angling to watch, or what have I already watched?
Angling to watch.
No, you're frozen.
How about now?
Now you're there.
I was asking, like, so what is it that you're working towards watching? What are you angling to watch, as you say?
I'm angling to watch Mandalorian.
Oh, I forgot you haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
I'm going to do that. Let's see, what else? I still have your DVD of Uncut Gems. Let's see. My son recommended something called The Platform, which is he said it's in Spanish, but he said it's a sci-fi thing where everybody lives in a tower, and every day, like, food comes down the tower. So, it's like some sort of dystopian future where people kill each other for food.
Are you sure that when your son recommended something called The Platform, he wasn't suggesting you throw yourself in front of a commuter train?
Ouch. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, good.
He's an LA boy. He has no idea what a commuter train is.
That's true. That's a great point. Even in the Valley,
on the East Coast.
Look, I think that you'll really like the Mandalorian, and at some point I'm going to devote an episode of the Bladtcast to Star Trek Picard sometime soon. But let's talk about sort of the broad strokes, and then we can dive into more spoilery territory in a moment. But just sort of overall, having watched all 10 episodes, what are your thoughts of Star Trek Picard?
I thought it was good, not great. Probably the first half could have been squeezed into maybe half the episodes. In other words, there were 10, right? So the first 5 they could have done in 2 or 3. I wasn't a huge fan of Captain Picard and his new merry band of raiders. I thought that, I don't know, it just seemed like a little bit too Robin Hood-y for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the way that I've related to people. I thought it was good. I would have liked it to be great. It was there were things about it that were interesting. I'm happy to watch Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. If they wanted him to read the phone book, that might have been more interesting than 1 or 2 of the episodes. Mm-hmm. But you had you had him in that like disguise in the one episode, and you're just like, this is the most famous man in the galaxy, and because he has an eye patch on, no one knows who he is.
I didn't know who he was.
Well, that's true. You didn't.
Like, hey, who's that?
But it's like a collection of new characters that I didn't particularly like. Some of them I outright hated. One of them, who, now here's a spoiler alert, one of them gets away with murder and everybody shrugs it off. You know?
I mean, and they show the murder. It's not like, it's not as if it happened off screen years ago. It happens in the show. You see it, and there's reaction to it, but she gets away with it, and it's a huge hanging chad for me.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like people who really cared about this person also seem to be like, all right, well, I guess you had to. It's like, really? No, she didn't.
We saved the galaxy. What's one more dead scientist?
The character of Raffi was particularly grating. They had this.
And if she left the show, if she was removed, what would be different? Nothing.
It would have been less annoying. I know, and there was like that like wasn't even a B story, like a C or D story where she goes to like visit her son who has like the pregnant wife, and I was just like, I think I know what you're trying to do with this, but I actually like her less, and I'm siding with the family that doesn't want to talk to her. I would like to be part of that family. Can I not talk to Raffi?
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I mean, I thought that the first episode was great. The pacing was like really well done. They spent a ton of money on it. And I think on the whole, like the effects were good, but they definitely cooled off after that first episode, and
yeah, well, I'm sure they had much more time to do the first episode than they did 2 through 10.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, it was kind of, we talked about it because it was over the 10 weeks, I'll be more interested if somebody who binges it, watches all 10 of them like in a weekend or whatever, if it holds up better in any way that, there. But yeah, the slow burn of... What's that?
Are you a binge watcher? I can't binge. I can watch about 2 or 3 episodes. Then I get into like a mindset where I feel like I have left the planet. It's too.
Yeah.
I can't think of words for it, but
I can do it. I haven't done it in a while, largely because of 2 kids and always being tired. The idea of staying awake for one television show is sometimes less daunting. But I mean, when Felix was really small and Heather was at work, I binged on the first day. I watched 10 episodes of the first season of Jessica Jones on Netflix. So and I think that was good for Felix. I think that strong female role model, but also a gentleman in a purple suit to look up to.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't know how much I like binging shows. I've definitely, the idea that the next one is still there is good, but it starts to feel like homework. Where it's like, I've only watched 2 of these, and you feel like, back when people had places that they went out to and other people were in those places and you might interact with those people. This is a strange concept that I'll have to try and regale the kids with one day. But, it was like people were always like so far ahead on a show. And I was just like, I'm not capable of doing it. But there hasn't been anything that I've watched lately that I'm like, you know what? Mandalorian is going to be a great binge, however many you do, even if it's 2. Each time, like having to wait for the next week was excruciating at times.
I remember how I binged Star Trek Discovery's first season,
right?
Because I was too cheap to pay for CBS All Access.
Yeah, I remember.
I felt that the money was going directly into Les Moonves's severance package.
Yeah, and it was split between the severance package and his defense fund. I think that.
Did you see? And this is tangentially related, but the guy who replaced Les Moonves, I think his name was Ianiello. He just got $100 million retirement settlement.
Ooh.
And wow.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. I mean, I'd never heard of this guy, but for basically, saying, yeah, that's a good show. I wish I could do that. I wish I had that job.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good show. No, that's stupid. Hey, you know what we need to do? Let's have young Sheldon.
Yeah, right.
People.
Look at that. Hey, he's wearing a bow tie. I get it.
Yeah. that sizzle reel for that show was actually copied shot for shot from a series that I pitched called Young Tucker Carlson, but nobody wanted it.
Young Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Did he always have? If you're going to do Young Tucker Carlson, he should always have a black eye or like a Band-Aid on his face because he gets the shit kicked out of him for being such a schmuck.
Well, look, in 2020, you get a lot further being a schmuck than you used to, I think.
That's true.
So what did you, just overall, like, what was like for me, high points in Star Trek Picard, getting to see Riker again. I would have liked to have seen Geordi. And they did their best to address this notion of, wait, how did Data get fat? He's an android. Like, did he used to cake on quite so much of that white makeup? I like.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've always been offended by Data. I don't think he should be allowed to walk around in whiteface. I personally find that very offensive.
Android face.
Exactly. But I liked seeing Riker. Riker basically taking up the role of Chef Boyardee, the pizza chef with the in Fort Knox. And I upset at least one, but probably two of my co-hosts on the Star Trek Picard after show when I said that, I think I borrowed your line. No, I said this to you, that I couldn't believe that that Starfleet had a uniform that fit him.
Yeah. No, he was huge.
Yeah.
He was as big as the space shuttle.
And I don't know. I like to, look, there were some interesting, like, it's a deep cut Star Trek pun, but lore, Data's brother, but in terms of dealing with these androids and things, and I don't know, I found it like interesting, but never like exhilarating, or it was cool to see 7 of 9, who was never really one of my favorite characters because I didn't like Discovery. No, sorry, what was that show called? Voyager. I love Discovery, but Voyager was just
the only reason to watch Voyager a lot of times was Jerry Ryan in a cat suit.
Yeah, so right, exactly.
Just like on Enterprise, I forgot the woman's name who played T'Pol, but again, cat suit. So
her name, I believe, was Jolene Blaylock or something like that.
There it is, Jolene Blaylock in a cat suit.
Yeah, they just were like, we're just gonna take this broad and give her some pointy ears. I know that I've probably shared this one with you before, but my mom did have like a legitimately like great joke about 7 of 9 when they introduced the character. She kind of looked her over and was like, well, they didn't take out 2 of her bionic implants, or some mom joke variation of that.
Joke, Mrs. Christian's mother.
Yeah, exactly. So, and so there was some of that like fan service stuff. It was cool. But what stood out for you when you were watching? Was there anything where like, this was really cool, I was glad to see this or that, or?
Well, one thing that was cool was, I think this was the first time that you saw Romulans over 10 episodes or a series of episodes where there was much more character development in terms of the Romulans as a race. On Star Trek TOS, you had the great episode with the cloaking device, and 1 or 2 other episodes. Romulan, the neutral zone, but they were never as well developed as the Klingons. And it was cool to see one of their creation myths. Is that the word that the phrase that would be most appropriate? But how that ended up being the basis for a lot of what was going on without revealing too much about what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this sort of dealing with the backstory, and I feel like that's what we'll probably get more of in the subsequent season, if people ever produce TV shows again, because I believe my understanding is that the second season was written They just, hadn't headed into production on it yet, but they were actually, I believe they were looking to write the third season. So, they definitely have
is Discovery has already filmed the third season, or you don't know?
Yeah, I think that they're doing post-production and, effects and stuff. And I don't know, is all of that stuff that's capable of people working from home. I think in the early days of lockdown/quarantine, you had it trickling out that there were some post houses that were having people come in and work. But I don't know if this is going to delay when that, premieres. They definitely it seems like they finished filming it. So I don't know. And I wonder about that because, there's going to be these Marvel shows for Disney Plus and like that they didn't finish, but I'm like, well, can you put like 5 of them out, like, in the late spring or the summer, and then just be like, yeah, there'll be a second half of the season later. We haven't finished it. Yeah. I mean, cause you want to get some of that stuff out there.
You need to get that cash rolling in. If it's these are all subscription services.
Yeah.
So without content, you're not going to get people to cough up the $10.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, some of these services are being smart. They did, like, instead of the free week of CBS All Access, they were giving away a month. And I know Patrick Stewart wanted the episodes to be put out there where people could get them, that sort of stuff. So, I think it was like the week of the finale. So they probably figured like they'd tricked enough people like you into paying for it for 9 weeks that, all right, well, we'll see who else we can lure in, and there seems to be longer trial subscriptions. HBO made a lot of stuff free. I don't think it's everything, but there's a lot of stuff you can get free from HBO. I think SiriusXM is doing like a 3 months on the app, and it's just like, yeah, people are home. Like, why not try to get them hooked on the habit of some of these?
Yeah, I heard. Things, We also heard that KY is doing a 3-for-1.
Wow, that's the sort of information that we go to you for. We would hope that you had your finger on the pulse of the KY community.
No, the finger is not on my pulse. That's for sure.
So, how are the naps going? I was getting a lot of texts that you were having like 3 naps a day or something.
Well, I'm off of the naps, but what was happening is I was watching too much news. So, what are you doing there? All right, okay. I was watching too much news, and I would go to sleep around midnight. And then I would wake up at 3, totally awake. And I would be up until 5, fall asleep again, wake up at 7, start the day. And then I would be so exhausted, I would take a nap from, not even a nap, but I would just fall asleep 10:30 to noon, then again from 4:30 to 6, and then wasn't able to fall asleep again the night before. It's a vicious cycle, Christian. And I don't even have little kids at home.
No, so. I know. And Heather and I, we try to relate to the people who are, self-quarantining by themselves, literally. And then the other people who are, maybe married but don't have kids, and I'm just like, I just feel like what I would be getting.
Each other, so they're trying to get away by falling asleep.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I just feel like I'm like, oh, I mean, wouldn't I have like read a couple books by now, or at the very least finished Tiger King? I feel like I would have watched all 7 if I didn't have kids.
Can't even finish Goodnight Moon.
No, that's true.
Goodnight Moon.
It's that's kind of the undoing. It's like, when you're with your delightful kids all day, it's like you finally like lay down to read them a story, and it's like, oh yeah, I can't stay awake for this. So
how close are you to dosing their milk to make them fall asleep? Heather, I'm going to slip a Mickey in Lucy's milk.
I wasn't that close to it, but now that you suggested it, pretty close. pretty
Yeah,
close.
really close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just it's all about trying to figure out what the balance is. And, you're talking about having trouble sleeping, and that's the mistake I made, really, like, not the first night, but maybe the second or third night of this, is that I was reading the news, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't sleep after doing that. It's there's just too much to think about. And I tried to not look at it first thing in the morning either, because the news is still going to be there, and it's still going to be bad, so.
Yeah. Also, we live in LA, and it is not quite the same thing as the East Coast. That really, it's spread out, and you're not on top of each other. So if you want to go out to Trader Joe's to get staples, it's not the same thing as, being on the streets and having to wear a mask, and, elbow room, and people walking back and forth, and sirens, and hospitals. And, you go in your car and you wait in line, and then you go into Trader Joe's, you get your stuff, and you leave. There's not the same dangers in terms of social distancing and just people coughing and sneezing on you as there is in an East Coast city.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been coughed on and sneezed on in New York, for sure. It's and sometimes I didn't even pay for it. But it's I mean, look, a city like New York in particular is not designed to withstand a global pandemic. It's
not when you can catch it like you can catch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially one like this. I mean, that you don't know you have it, and then even when you do get it, you might not see any signs for a while. So
it's so awful now that you're getting ignored if you take a leak in the subway. People are like, yeah, as long as you don't sneeze, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it seems like the subways in particular are, just sort of the subway cars are just like teeming with homeless people because there's no one to chase them away, and these are accounts that you hear from New York, that it's, and they're running much less trains. So the trains that they do run the trains that do run are crowded. So it's like, it's like, I think here in LA, the fact that we're all in our cars and we're going places by ourselves, I think that that certainly cuts down. And I mean, obviously there is mass transit here, but it's not the way that most people travel. So
no.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I think that I feel like we're in a better spot, than if we were in Manhattan. But
I think so. I think just geographically, and I'm trying to somethingly that it works better.
Yeah.
You can't get it in half an hour when you sneak down to the bodega and get a quart of milk.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's like, let's just stay in, but at some point we'll be back at Philly's Best, we'll be sitting there over the cheesesteak. And now, of course, I've been to Philly's Best during this. Oh, you have?
I had a free one the other day.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
cheesesteak. For anybody who was thinking something different.
Right. The cheesesteak was free from Philly's Best. Yeah. And I picked up a few of them, for the family that
does Felix likes a cheesesteak?
I don't think, he hasn't tried it. So I feel like the combination of the meat and the cheese he would like, but it's also like, it's like, fine, I'll just give him, grilled cheese or peanut butter and jelly or something. Mm-hmm. So, we picked them up and we had them back at the, the house that we spend our weekdays in for the most part with the other family, our germ family that we're going steady with, and not seeing other people, as I've said previously on the Bladtcast, that, we got them there because they were around the corner from Philly's Best, and the guy that was working there, and you know which guy I'm talking about, the guy that takes forever. That guy.
The guy with the back brace.
That's the guy, and he asked me if I wanted a new sandwich card, because I didn't bring mine. I was just like, you know what, I don't want to have to wipe it down. I don't want to worry about this and that, and and so he gave me a new one. So like, I have one that's unfinished. I've got this other one that's got 4 on them. And then, the sucker that I am, the last time you and I went together, I didn't have my sandwich card. So I gave you my punch. So that sandwich that you ate for free is like 1/10 mine.
So I owe you half a sandwich.
No, you owe me 1/10 of a sandwich. You owe me 1/10 of a sandwich. Let's be honest.
Of a sandwich. All right. Well, I'll tell you, I'll round it up to half. Okay. That's how much I love you.
I mean, I'm going to take it. Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's, you got to look out for some of your, some of the local haunts. The, you want to make sure that they're still around to go to for lunch. I actually haven't gone to Pinocchio's yet.
They're around.
The pizza place that we go to, Dino's, they actually decided to cease operation. They weren't going to do delivery anymore because they felt like their workers weren't being safe, or not that workers weren't being safe. It wasn't a safe working condition for their workers to like have to go out, and also that place is small, so when people would go and order at the counter, it would get a little crowded. So I don't know. It's that was disappointing. Is my point, but we've
Pinocchio's has pizza after 2 p.m.
Well, see, there you go. That's good to know. And we did Chinese. We actually did dim sum from Din Tai Fung over in Glendale.
Really? How was that?
It's great. I mean, we've had it before, but
I didn't know they'd do that. So you got takeout dim sum?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had it for dinner one night. We were doing a Zoom call with Heather's parents. Felix and Lucy were very excited to see Popo and Gung Gung. They have not, they haven't seen them since like the end of February now. So So it's we used to see them a lot. So so we did that, and that's the thing about these delivery services. Whether they be Grubhub or Seamless, or I even forget what they all are. If you're on the lists for them, one of them is very often doing free delivery, and sometimes specific restaurants / eateries are doing so it's like you got to stay on top of the deals in this time. Free delivery from Dunkin' Donuts, sign me up. So
Yeah, I have a craving for a Beyond Cronut. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You can get the Beyond Cronut. Yeah. As we start the process of beginning to wind down our delightful chat here, when you feel, this is a question I've been asking of pretty much everybody that's been on the podcast, when things start to return back to normal, like if this is a hypothetical, say July 1st, restaurants and movie theaters are open. Are you heading out on July 1st, or do you want to give it a little time and see if things even out a little bit?
It depends who tells me that things are okay. Dr. Fauci tells me things are okay to go out, I'll go out. If Trump tells me things are okay, I'll stay until Christmas.
What if Keith Hernandez tells you it's okay to go out?
Halloween.
That's fair. Yeah. He kind of splits the difference between Fauci and Trump.
Yeah.
I think that, when we were talking about this on the Bladtcast, and then also on one of the other shows that I do, sort of like a benchmark would be like, let's just say July 1st, movie theaters open. I don't want to go there on July 1st. I want there to be like a good stretch where you hear that everything's okay and people aren't getting sick. And then I'm like, all right, I'll go see that. I'll go see the new Wonder Woman movie on like August 5th. You know, it's like I'll give it like 5 weeks. But
for Gal Gadot in her underwear, I may have to move up a little bit on that.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know, that Imagine video, the idea of just seeing Gal Gadot was like, oh, okay, I'm down with this. I don't care who else is singing, how tone deaf it is. I love me some Gal Gadot.
It has been an interesting part of all of this.
Is Jewish woman on the planet.
I don't disagree. And, you know, look, the interesting thing about that video is that it's one of a few moments where the sort of invulnerability of celebrity has not served the people involved with it. You know, there was like this video of Madonna like taking a milk bath that she had to take down because everybody was like, what the fuck are you doing? You know? Yeah. And then, yeah, that video was just like, and let's be honest, it was not like, there were a couple of like very recognizable A-list people in it, but it wasn't filled, you know? So it was just like, it's like, we don't need celebrities to tell us everything's going to be okay, you know, because you know what, everything is okay for Gal Gadot right now. Everybody in that video, everybody's fine, you know?
Yeah, they're fine.
So I don't know. I don't think anything will change, you know, but I do think that people maybe aren't as interested in like, here's the thing. People aren't interested in how are celebrities handling being in quarantine unless they're handling it poorly. So, you know, if they're like losing their minds and posting videos about it, then people are very interested.
Well, Ellen DeGeneres posted something either yesterday or the day before that she was catching heat for, because she was saying how being trapped into her 80,000 foot mansion was like being in jail.
Yeah, I know. I saw that actually, the comment.
Since Kristen and I are in show business.
Yes, we are.
We actually have inside information that, you know, she's really not as nice as people make her out to be.
You may have heard that from a source or two. It's something that scuttlebutt might be in there, you know. But you know, I mean, how much room does she need to just, you know, dance anyway? You know, she doesn't need all that. Yeah. So yeah, so we were talking about.
Where's my tea? Where's my fucking tea?
So yeah, I think that the tone deaf nature of celebrity is never lost on anyone. You had a couple of people who early on, you had Evangeline Lilly from Lost was saying like, I am not going to live this way. I am not going to self-quarantine. I have to live my life. And then, you know, like very quickly apologized. Vanessa Hudgens from High School Musical, you know, made the mistake of, you know, just saying like, well, so people are going to die and that's really bad, but it's kind of inevitable. So can we just get back to our lives?
I need to go to Lululemon right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't, you know, it's, I don't know. I think a lot of celebrities are being a little smart right now. They're, you know, maybe taking it a little low, except for Tom Brady, who was like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to go play for Tampa now. You know, it was like, imagine.
Am I the only one who thinks that Tom Brady has nothing left and that this is going to be a fucking disaster? Am I the only one?
I think that it's very possible that he won't have much left. But I don't know what Tampa expects from him. Like, is this going to be when Brett Favre played for the Jets? You know,
Tampa expects him to take them deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah,
paying him $30 million. What? So they can finish 8-8, 9-8.
Yeah,
however many games the NFL is making these poor bastards play now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, obviously, you know, we miss out on sports. We were talking about baseball at the beginning of this, and there's this idea of, you know, they're going to like basically quarantine all 30 teams in the Phoenix area. And they're going to use the spring training facilities. They're going to use Chase Fields where the D-backs play. And, you know, they're going to do 7-inning doubleheaders. And they're going to try and, you know, fit in a bunch of games, and they're going to do them without crowds. And I think the idea of creating the televised product of baseball games is not necessarily a bad one. I just don't know that that's a sport that lends itself to it. I was reading about how, golfers are going to be able to get back out there before pretty much anybody. You just won't, there won't be people there, and it'll be fine. But then we'll miss the people who, as soon as they swing, you're like, Baba Booey, so we'll miss out on that. Yeah, exactly. But, the idea that you can do baseball in that kind of a setting, I don't know. And I mean, I feel like the NBA is too physical and too sweaty. I feel like you're not going to play the same way. That's why it spread the way it did. And I'm glad you like that. The NFL, it's like, unless they're going to turn it into flag football, you know what I mean? So there'd be no tackling. I don't know that you can play NFL even with all the challenges and timeouts and all the commercial breaks and all the stuff that slow the game down. I still don't think you can play the NFL the way that
not obviously, but in my opinion, nobody is greedier than a bunch of billionaires. And right now, they've got 30 in the NFL. They have 32 billionaires who are desperate for cash because they're not making any cash, and they're just throwing out any kind of shit to see if anything sticks to the wall so that they can get their beer and parking money.
Yeah.
They could care less about guys getting hurt or fans catching the coronavirus. They're just greedy motherfuckers.
Yeah, I think teams that have their own networks, I think, can see like, all right, here's how much we're going to make if we have a televised product.
Yes.
Teams that don't, teams that are on like, like the Dodgers have their own regional sports channel. So do the Lakers, but the Clippers and Angels don't. They have like a Fox Sports deal, which, they get paid handsomely for. I'm not saying that, but it's like the revenue is not the same. So then it's like, if we play, we play in some setting, then we've got a game, we've got something new, we can sell advertising during it. And I think your audience would be bigger, but it's just like, logistically, does it work? And I mean, I would certainly tune in. I would want to see how it looked and sounded. It seems like it's a little weird. I know that the WWE has been doing wrestling events without crowds from, they have like a performance center in Orlando. And I know that Dana White from the UFC is trying to have a basically fighter island so that they can hold UFC events without crowds on this island and not have to worry about, any sort of legal ramifications. But it's just like, I don't know. I mean, are you going to watch a WWE event if you're not already a wrestling fan? Are you going to watch UFC if you're somebody who doesn't give a shit about it?
It would be cool for UFC if they just held it in the middle of Times Square. just
got the room.
You've got the room. Just put up a ring and let these two guys go at it, see who gets a concussion first. I love it.
And look, you could
like bloodthirsty gladiator in the middle of the big city.
I think that there'd be more prop bets. There'd be a lot of stuff to wager on, than if you just did it in a ring.
In Vegas now, the complete degenerate gamblers, you can wager on virtual NASCAR.
Virtual NASCAR.
And eSport.
I would like to wager on some video games, but obviously my video game knowledge is from my childhood. So
we have a bet rolling right now with when Boris Johnson's going to croak. We have an over under.
I know, and I've heard that his fever has gone down, and he's it seems like he's going to make a recovery. So one of us is going to win, and the other is not. Yeah. No, I basically, gamblers are all the guy who walks up to the craps table, and there's like, I think if you bet on the don't come line or whatever it is, you bet on the come line. You're basically rooting for everybody else at the table to lose, and so then that guy's like, here we go, this is all we needed. Yeah, Boris Johnson seems to be doing all right. He's a handsome fella, that Boris Johnson, no?
Oh, yeah. Very handsome. In fact, his picture is on that bottle of lube I just bought. You know how they have Chef Boyardee? They have Bojo Lube. And there's that's what he uses in his hair to get it all going in different directions.
So if the MLB in particular, if they were to try this out and do these spring training facility games with no crowds, what would you check it out? Would you see how it was, or?
I don't know. It seems like Double-A baseball to me.
Yeah.
And like I just said, it seems like a mad grab for cash.
Yeah.
It's not. This is not an idea that bubbled up from the players. This is an idea that's coming down from the commissioner and his billionaire cronies that he works for. Just to generate anything. I mean, you haven't seen like Mike Trout saying, "Oh yeah, sign me up for that."
Yeah, I want to play in a little league park. So do you think, when this started, I felt like, okay, probably a clean break. You can play the second half of the season after the All-Star break. But as time has gone on, I don't know. Do you think that there will be a baseball season in 2020, even a shortened one?
Today is April 8th. We're quarantined till the end of the month.
Yeah.
So that puts us May, June. It's entirely possible. The All-Star break, for those who are non-baseball conversant, is in the middle of July. So it's possible there would be a second half of the season.
But I feel like you can't be packing 50,000 people into stadiums, or in the case of the Mets, 15,000 people into the stadium. Thank you. But no, I don't think you can.
No, that's a Tampa Bay joke, Christian.
Hey, it works, but yeah, that's true. The Tampa Bay Rays have been having their fans socially distance basically the entire run of that franchise. But I mean, you can't pack that many people into an arena. I mean, even if you're diminishing the number of tickets sold, I mean, even if it's like 30,000 seems like too many. I don't think you can have concerts of that size. Maybe a Broadway theater might be a decent amount, but then they're too close to each other.
Well, who do you trust to be in charge of the number? There's nobody. I mean, who's going to say, in the Mets organization, do you see like Brody Van Wagenen saying, 30 grand seems like a good number to put into Citi Field? It's like, what the fuck is Brody Van Wagenen to make a public health call? So and also the only way to get to Shea Stadium, I'm never going to get cured of that.
Citi Field.
For non-New Yorkers, the best way to get there is one subway line, the number 7 line, which goes from Times Square all the way through Queens. It just snakes through Queens and it stops right there at the stadium. So you're going to be, even when there's no pandemic, that train gets pretty crowded.
Yeah.
Pretty crowded.
Pretty crowded. Yeah.
Crowded. So you already have your elbow up somebody's nose. So it just doesn't seem it. Like I said, I mean, who gets? If Dr. Fauci says it's cool, I'll go. I'll wear a mask.
Yeah. I think that's going to be an important.
Wait till they start selling on New Era Met masks.
Oh, if I can get a Mr. Met face mask, that's really all I need.
Do you think that after all this, do you think that any cash operation is going to be left unturned?
No.
Anything. Mr. Met masks, Mr. Met gloves.
And let's not forget Mr. Met hand sanitizer. I mean, it's like, it's like, do you want to sit on our filthy seats? No, you want to get some hand sanitizer and wipe it down as soon as you get to the stadium.
I don't even like wearing shorts in New York.
Well, I mean, it's so hot, but I know what you're talking about, like sitting on the subway. Yeah.
I don't like getting that subway filth on my legs. For those of you who have never lived in New York, you can wake up, you can take a shower. This is on a hot day.
Yeah.
And the second that you step out into the street, you've broken out into a complete sweat again.
That's the worst. It's so bad.
So you're always sweaty and filthy.
And then because of the way that New York is basically like a series of long shoe boxes, you'd think like, oh, it's going to rain today. That'll cool us off. No, that turns everything into a sauna because the steam just hangs there after the rain. Right. And you're like, oh, I'm sweating even more. Yeah.
Up from the streets.
Yeah. Well, subway filth and rain clouds and humidity seems like as good a place as any to put a pin in this conversation. I'd like for there to be a Bladtcast 2020 MLB preview episode, but I'm not confident that it's going to happen. I'm not confident there will be a baseball season this year.
Speaking of that, what about Melissa's wedding?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's still getting married. I just wonder if she's moved it. Actually, the last time I talked to her was trying to set up what day the three of us were going to do our preview episode for the season.
The wedding must be in the next couple of months.
I think I want to say it's in May or June. It's soon. Anymore. Yeah. So I wonder.
She was getting married in Baltimore.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So I wonder.
I don't want to get in trouble.
All right. Well, you won't get in trouble. Don't worry. Well, David Weiss, if people want to keep in touch with you, it's at DWeiss Comedy, right? Those tweets are no longer locked up, right?
No. Those tweets are, take a look at the tweets, like them, retweet them, be confused. Whatever you want to do, just, don't do nothing.
Yes, exactly. You got to do something. Well, hopefully that we're, if this goes on long enough, we might have to meet in the parking lot of Philly's Best, and we'll have our cars parked on opposite ends of it. We'll have already gotten our food, and then we'll just text each other while we're eating.
Right, like all the President's Men. Which one of us is Deep Throat?
Well, I think we're both fighting over who gets to be Deep Throat. But let us know. You tell us who's Deep Throat. Right. Tweet us at Bladtcast, Bladtcast. Like the Bladtcast on Facebook, and of course, Bladtcast.com. That's all our time. Thanks again to David Salman Weiss, and we will see you next time on the Bladtcast. All right. Thanks. Go take a nap. I feel like you need it.
No. I haven't had breakfast yet. So.
Oh my God! I stopped you from breakfast. What's for breakfast?
No. Probably a little bit of oatmeal.
Ooh.
Keeps everything.
Yeah, keeps it moving. All right. I look forward to my next series of texts that I can't share with people, of jokes from you. So
we're off, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially off. Do you need me to turn off the recording?
No. I just wanted to make sure, in case I say something off color.
No, that's not going to happen.
My natural.
All right. Well, I need to run, but I will talk to you soon, I'm sure. Thanks again for spending your morning with us.
All righty.
All right. Bye. Thanks.